Okay, so today's date is Saturday, March 8th, 2025. My name is Riley O'Neill, and I'm interviewing Ann Brown as part of the Riches research with the University of Central Florida Riches Project in cooperation with the City of Orlando Parramore Speaks Project. This interview is being conducted at the Callahan Neighborhood Center in Orlando, Florida, and Ms. Brown has agreed to allow this interview to be recorded. Ms. Brown, can you please start off by telling us your full name?
My name is Ann Patricia Brown.
Awesome. Okay, so the first question, can you tell me a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up?
Well, I actually grew up on Polk Street. I still live there. My family bought that property in 1918, so we have been there for a while. Grew up there, went to school here at Callahan from first grade to sixth grade, then to Jones High School from 7th grade to 12th grade.
Awesome. And so when did your family first arrive in Orlando?
My mother was born here in 1910, and she was raised by her aunt. So looking at the history from my aunt and her husband were here before the 1900s.
Awesome. And how did your family come to live in the Parramore area?
Well, like I said, my aunt and her husband bought the property on Polk Street. It seems as though the property was purchased in 1918, but from what I can see, they were renting the property in 1910 when my mom was born and even before then.
Awesome. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your family. What did your parents do for a living?
Well, actually, my dad passed when I was in second grade, so I don't have a lot of memory of my dad. My mom actually attended Jones High School here for a while and then went back to Tallahassee when her mother was ill and then passed. And once her mom passed, then she came back. My mom actually worked 2 jobs for us. She felt like it was important, and she always said if we wanted to get ahead, we needed to be educated. So she worked during the day, and she had a job at Gary's Duck Inn, where she took care of the owner's wife, and then she worked on the Navy base at night.
Oh, wow.
For lots of years.
Awesome. Can you share any memories of your family's involvement in work or business when you were younger?
I can remember the work portion. As I said, my mom was at Gary's Duck Inn, but it was her job to look after the owner's wife that was ill. So there were times when she would actually come and live with us and stay with us, and my mom would take care of her. I remember that. I always thought that was odd. But at any rate, my mom looked after her until she passed, and that was years later. Actually, my mom is the reason that I actually got involved in the Callahan Neighborhood Association. My mom was a founding member of the association, and then after she became ill and had several surgeries and couldn't attend the meetings, my mom actually called my supervisor at Mid-Florida Tech because the Callahan meetings were on Monday night. And on Monday night, I worked from 12 until 8:30. My mom talked to my supervisor and had my nights to change to Thursday night. So I would be able to come to the meetings and I can let her know what was happening. Mom always said, if we live in a community, we need to be involved and we need to know what's going on.
Tell me a little bit more about the Callahan Neighborhood Association.
Well, the Callahan Neighborhood Association was established in 1978, and of course it was established by Pam Whitley's mother, Miss Georgia Whitley, that had attended a meeting in the Holden area and found out that they were having a lot of things that we didn't have in Callahan. For instance, paved streets. None of our streets were paved, and Mrs. Whitley came back and wanted to organize the residents so we could see and talk to city council and get involved to see why we had none of the things that other neighborhoods had.
Interesting. Awesome. Thank you. Do you have any siblings? If so, how many?
I do. I have 2 sisters and 1 brother. My brother is a retired colonel that lives in Virginia. Retired from the military and then opened his own company, I guess for about 15 years, HMR Tech. My sister that lives here, Ada Richardson, was a school teacher for 42 years. And actually, when Ada did her internship here at Callahan, I was in the class right next door. So we would walk to school in the mornings. My sister that passed in June, Dr. Jenny Walker, Jenny did all kinds of things. She taught at Benedict College, but in the end, she had her own company. And she did mental health issues. That's what Jenny did. And I got a chance, I can always remember, every year I look forward to going to the conference with her when they would send for her to come to California and do the conference. So yes, those are my siblings.
And would you say you have a good relationship with your siblings?
I do. I think my sister that just passed, Jenny, I think we were the closest because we were Jenny was 8 years older than I was. So we were at home together at one point when Ada and Rich were gone and were in college. It was just the 2 of us, so that made us closer.
Oh,
And then when she left, then it was only me.
I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Let's see. Were there any particular challenges or triumphs that your family faced?
Oh, I would think so. Yes, and I would say yes because of the fact of having 2 children in college at one time. And then when my sister was working on her PhD, her son Michael stayed with us. And that's why Mom did the 2 jobs so we could have all of the things that we needed. And taking care of Michael until Jenny got her PhD and then worked in Tampa and then moved to Atlanta to have her own company.
Awesome. Good for her. Let's see, and what type of education do you have?
Finished college, FAMU, we all attended FAMU.
Okay.
When Jenny did FAMU and Florida State. Jenny's PhD was from Florida State. And her BS and her master's was from Florida A&M University.
What did you take in college?
I started off in college to major in sociology, and then later on changed and did the dual education sociology. Didn't use the education as much, but the sociology and education.
And which elementary school did you go to? You said.
I went right here at Callahan.
Oh, awesome. Tell me about your experience here at Callahan.
Well, then Callahan was a 2-story building. And I can remember, and when you got in the upper classes, the 4th and 5th graders, then we were upstairs. I think the thing that I loved the most about coming here, the lunches was great, but the May Day program. That was always my highlight of the year when we would practice plaiting the maypole and all of the rehearsals we had, going on the field trips. We went to St. Augustine. I think everybody went to St. Augustine when they were in 4th grade. And so it was a lot of fun, and I lived close enough that I could walk, and that made it nice. Then our teachers lived in the neighborhood. My 4th grade teacher, Miss Dobie, lived across the street. If we bought a letter from our parent, we were able to get our ears pierced. So I got my ears pierced in 4th grade by my 4th grade teacher, Miss Dobie.
Oh, awesome. Tell me a bit more about the May Day program.
Well, of course, it was just the big thing. It was almost like a fair. You had the maypole, and of course, you had all these rehearsals on how to plait the maypole and who goes right and who goes left. So that took a lot of practice. But it was just such a fun time for the whole school. I will never forget those days.
Awesome.
It was so good.
Did you have a favorite teacher?
Favorite teacher? Well, I had a teacher here that ended up being my supervisor. But I can't say favorite. I think all of our teachers was just concerned about us. And then I will say one that stood out, and that's Commissioner Nat Ford that taught science. And when we got books at Callahan, of course, they were older books that were passed down from other schools. So they were always torn up and all the names in the books. But he always managed to get a new book for science and taught us out of that. And I always thought that was just to show how concerned he was about our education. And I think they all were, though.
Awesome. And what was your favorite subject in school?
I would have to say math was my favorite.
And why is that?
I like the fact of numbers, and I like the way we were taught to find the answer. And my mom was excellent in math. So I thought, that's kind of neat, because I'm smart in math like my mom.
Oh, that's awesome. What did you want to be when you grew up, and why?
Well, at first, because my brother was in the military, I thought, maybe you should go to military when you finish school. And then my brother assured me that I was not disciplined enough to go to the military, because I had a habit of talking back. So he didn't think that that would work. And then I thought I'd be a police officer. And then I decided, no, that's not going to work. So when I first went off to college, it was pretty much undecided. But I like people and like helping people. And children, I like children, but not little children, because I don't like to repeat myself. So that took out some of the education steam.
What did you do in your spare time growing up?
Reader. I love to read, and I still love to read. You can travel all over the world with a book. So much so that here at Callahan at one point, we had a book club. And it was 12 of us. We read a book a month. And the last Thursday in the month, we would meet and we would have our discussions, sometime here, sometime at a restaurant, sometimes at someone's home. And it's amazing. I found it hard to believe at some points that we all read the same book. But I love to read, and I still have a passion for reading.
Do you have a favorite book?
I have a favorite author because I loved all of his books. Eric Jerome Dickey, that passed away, but I love his books, and got an opportunity to meet him as he came to the Perkins bookstore, and we went, and I have autographed copies of some of his books. So awesome. That's just one of my favorites.
That's awesome. Can you tell me about your friends growing up and what you did when you were together?
Well, I walked to school with friends, but once we came home, it was a little different because my mom worked at night. So once we came home, we weren't allowed to leave the yard. So pretty much stayed at home, but I had friends that I talked to on the phone, but never a lot of friends that came over to visit. My mom tended to have problems with that. We could go to people's home, but we couldn't go inside, we couldn't eat. You know, she just was strict about that.
Interesting. So moving on to a little bit about entrepreneurship. What kind of businesses existed in the neighborhood when you were younger?
Oh, we had restaurants, we had the Black Cab Station, we had the tailor shop, and of course the grocery stores. I think then most of the things that we needed were right here, and then we were able to, you could walk downtown because we were so close. My sister and I had responsibility of walking to OUC to pay the bill, and I always enjoyed it. And then my mom on her days off, and she would take us to the Woodworth store downtown, and you had the Crest store down there, so there was a lot of things to do.
Awesome. And how did they contribute to the community?
I'm not sure whether they did. I can't say that they contributed. I do know that the store across the way, that's Sunlight, we had a gentleman that owned it at one time that passed away. He would always give snacks to the children for after school. And we had a pastor in the neighborhood if we needed money to take the children on trips and everything. And you could call and talk to him, and he would say, go over to the church, and the secretary will have it ready when you get there. So he was very good about supporting the kids and the community.
That's great. Let's see. What kind of work did the people of Parramore do?
Well, I think mostly domestic work. My dad was a long-distance truck driver. And growing up, Ada worked at the hospital, and she worked with the Miss Mercedes Clark when we were in the basement, but she worked there. My sister Jenny worked at the Carver Theater, and I didn't work at all. I just worked for them at home.
Awesome. How have business and entrepreneurship in Parramore changed over time?
Well, it's changed because we don't have as many of them as we had. You know, you look around, we don't have as nearly many of the mom and pop things that we had earlier.